Right. Grayson, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Very well, very well. So, Virgin River is a really awesome show. You were in the first season recurring,
Yeah.
um, and now a full cast member.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. No.
Tell me, first of all, for those who haven't seen it, what is the show about, and what do you play, and a little bit about it?
Okay. Well, Virgin River is a story about a big city nurse who wants to get away from her old life and decides to move to a small town. And chaos ensues. But it's kind of all about, personally, I think it's about you learning to be with yourself and also finding love in the places you expect at least.
Very nice, very nice. The show is absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. Vancouver.
Yeah.
Vancouver subbing for Sacramento, California, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
What does it What does it mean to shoot? You're from Calgary, right?
Yeah, I'm from Calgary. Yeah, originally. Yeah.
Right on. So how do you feel as a Calgarian in Vancouver?
Um, it's interesting because I go back and forth a lot. I'd say I'm almost becoming more of a Vancouver local than a Calgarian local at this point. But it's great, being able to film here and you go somewhere and then you're like on a hike with your friends and then you're like, I think I recognize this view. I think I think Virgin River shot right here. I think this is the spot. And it was funny. We were just looking at houses that we might want to buy in the future at some point, and I was looking at a house, and it was like I was like, oh, this is a really nice house, and I'm like, this house is so familiar. I'm looking on the inside. It's the house, the Doc's house from the show is for sale, and I was like, what? No way! Wouldn't it be hilarious if I just bought this house? But yeah,
So there you go. You'd be an
yeah,
even bigger part of the show now.
yeah, exactly. They could never not see me.
Right on, right on. So this show has very, very passionate fans, and we'll probably have even more coming into season two. And as you know, as you've become a full cast member, your role has increased. What are you excited about for people to see this coming season?
I'm excited for people to really get to know Ricky on a more personal level. We've seen a little bit of him. We know that he wants to like be in the Marines, but we don't really know much about how he is as a person, how he reacts to like stressful situations or how he handles conflict. And I think it's a good experience for everyone to see the character for the first time.
Right on. You get a lot of interesting plot. You get to do some really fun things this season.
Yeah.
What's your best memory from shooting?
Oh, there's two. For this season, one of my favorite memories is from season one, but that's because it was the first episode and it was the first time you see my character. But I was trying to like, I was going through those bar doors, like the ones for the kitchen,
Mhm.
and I was carrying a glass of pints, and I walked out the door. I got uncomfortable with it because I'd done it a few times, but the door kind of like swung and tapped my back, and it kind of like freaked me out and made me lose my balance. And I dropped like half a dozen glasses in like the take, and the the professionals, Martin and Alexandria are both like just went, and I was like picking up the glasses, and they just kept on doing the scene, and I was like, so there's this glass all over the floor, and I ran out of the scene. But I'd say my favorite part of season two is when Ricky and Lizzie kind of have their first like quote unquote date, where they're at that little bridge with the river. It was so beautiful. We were freezing. It was so cold. And the 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 thing that we were drinking, it looked like really good, right? But it was weird because I never like drank fake alcohol in a scene before. So when
Mhm.
I was drinking it, I was like kind of actually expected real tequila. I don't know what I was expecting, but like we were both kind of like learning how to do that whole like tequila. Oh, it's so hard to swallow, but it was just like it kind of tasted like maple syrup. So it was that's one of my favorite memories. It was a beautiful day.
Cool. So one of the things that actually surprised me is when I was talking to Sarah about it, she said she'd never met anyone on the show before. And I assume that means you as well, too.
Yeah.
Yet for people who had met maybe on set, you have incredible chemistry in the show. What do you like most about working with her?
She's very funny. She's super sweet. I was very nervous to meet her, and when we finally, because we did a bit of a chemistry read before, and when we did that chemistry read, it was very funny. She like threw me off balance in like the perfect way, scared the crap out of me in the scene, which is what she was supposed to do. And she did it so well that I was like, whoa, she's the girl for this role, because she scared the crap out of me. So then I had this like preconceived notion that I was going to be like terrified of her all the time, and she was going to keep me on my toes. And then when I finally saw her again at the cast table read, I was kind of shy, and I didn't want to like be bombastic or anything and be like, hey, you remember me from the chemistry read? Yeah, I'm the guy who you're going to be working with. I'm a series regular, if you didn't know. But I was like super scared of talking to her, but she made the experience really really worth it, and just a fun time overall. So
Right, cool. So you seem to really bring a sense of physicality into your scenes, even right now. And you have a background in parkour. You're a parkour enthusiast. Does that come into play in the show?
yeah, it kind of did. It's funny because I'd say that parkour in a way had its uh got me one of my first big roles. It was this, it's impossible to find if you're not Canadian.
Mm.
But it found me this, kind of got me this role on YTV, where I was doing this like character. He barely spoke. He only had like 4 or 5 lines per episode, but he was always doing some sort of weird thing where he's tripping over something, or he's falling over, he's trying to like put his pants on as he's walking or something. And that kind of just ended up translating to all my work. So when I'm doing like something clumsy, or I'm moving in like a little bit of a way, it's all like remnants of that YTV show.
You know, I am Canadian, and I have been looking for that particular show where it's
Hard to find.
from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong about this. Your life is being told by sportscasters, played by Jonathan Torrens and Samantha Bee, and they're sort
Yeah.
of over your shoulder telling your life, and then you probably don't talk very much, and they did all the talking. I want to
Oh
find.
yeah.
I read a little bit about it. It looks amazing.
It's I think it's on iTunes, if I remember right. At one point in time it was on Shaw, and I was like, wow, okay, sure, it's on Shaw on Demand. That's great. And I was like watching old episodes and going like, oh, my face, my baby face, or something like that. But yeah, I think it's on iTunes now, which is where you can maybe find it. But yeah, no, it's been a while since I watched the show. I think I'd crawl up and die just from the embarrassment of seeing me so young.
No, I mean that's part of the fun is growing up.
Yeah.
You've had some other cool roles as well too. Which ones have you sort of felt were some of your favorites leading into Virgin River?
Oh, I did one little I did a small part on this like what do you call it? It was a Lifetime movie. I forgot the what you call a movie of the week. I did a movie of the week, and it was fun because I had booked it, and I was like, oh, it's just gonna be like a small little thing. There's probably not gonna be too much promotion around it, and people aren't gonna really maybe watch it. But then I was really surprised when I found out that Justina Machado and Elizabeth Rome were in it, and I was like, oh, two really huge actresses that I'm gonna be acting alongside. Like Justina Machado is like huge. I didn't really know her until I like looked at her filmography, and I was like, oh my god, I've heard of all of these shows, and she's the lead in all of them. And I was like, okay, great. But she was so nice, and that was like one of my favorite experiences, because I was like really nervous. And there was this funny thing. She was wearing like a tank top with like a I don't know, like spaghetti straps or whatever you call it. And a little bit of her bra was peeking out, and someone was like, "Oh, you gotta fix that." And then she's like, "Oh yeah, God, can't have that." And I'm like, "Yeah, this ain't some HBO show or something." And then she like just died, and I was like, "Oh, I cracked a funny joke. I made her laugh." But yeah, that was that was one of my favorite experiences because it was such an interesting show, and it was the first show I did as an adult. So I was actually working adult hours and feeling like I was really earning my check. So,
Right on. You can cheer for on Dancing with the Stars right now.
oh, is she?
Yeah, still
Oh,
around, I think.
oh, look at her go.
Yeah, keep dialing in.
Yeah.
Um,
One day I'm like, can I get on Dancing on Stars?
maybe. Well, I mean, you're really building your career up through
Oh,
this role in particular. You were sort of integrated a little differently within the cast in the first season. Now,
yeah.
sort of get your own thing, but yet still feels, as I was saying before, it feels like such an integrated show, such a safe and just it's a pleasant watch. It's nice to be there. There's
Yeah, no, it
not
is.
sometimes there's a little conflict, but for the most part, it just feels good being there. What do you enjoy most about being there, being at Virgin River?
Um, I One of my favorite things is I love all the cast and crew. They're super nice people, and getting to spend like if you are on a show and you don't like the people you're working with, you're gonna have a really hard time. Because sometimes you're spending, 12 to 14-hour days, especially in season one, because there's you know, like we're still getting the rhythm and everything. But when you're spending like long days and you don't like each other, or you're not taking the time to get to know each other, it's gonna be like a long 12 hours. But when you get to this point where all the cast and crew are being really friendly and you guys all know each other on like first name basis, it's fun. It's a good experience. It feels like you're coming home to a family business
Mhm.
instead of you're going to some sort of like work environment where you got to be proper, but you're just having fun with friends.
Right on. What have you enjoyed about the response to the first season, and then what's to come? It's going to be very exciting when people get a chance to see season two.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I didn't know it was gonna do so well. I mean, like everyone else did. I knew that there was books and I knew that they were popular. I just didn't know that it would do as well as it did. Like it totally shocked me, which it shouldn't have because, there's such a huge fan base around the books. But I was like, wow, there's so many people who love these books so much. And I think they're gonna like season two just as much as they liked season one. I mean, of course, there's going to be like a few people here and there who I think aren't going to like it. And that's one of those things where sometimes you can't please everyone. But I think that I think that the writers and Sue Tenney, the showrunner, she really really likes the story and really puts her heart into it and really really tries to make something that's not just a copy paste of the books but still has the energy and the spirit of the books, which is pretty awesome. So
Was that a bit of an entry point for you? The books, there's so many of them.
yeah, there are, yeah.
The author is involved in your show as producer, but as you said, you're not just doing the books, you're building a whole new world. So do you come in
Yeah.
through that, through the scripts, and
Um,
how do you build your character?
well, originally in season one, because of course I didn't know exactly how much, like how big my role was going to be, and before we didn't get like the plot outline for like what the episodes were going to be or what the show was going to be like. So I decided to basically I bought like four of the books on Audible and I was listening to them in between days on set, and I was listening to it in my trailer and I was getting the feeling of the character. I mean, I feel like what I did for season one was a little bit different than the Ricky from the books,
Mhm.
or Rick as he's called in the books. And I think that it was a creative decision that they wanted someone who was a little bit more naive in the first season.
Mhm.
But now he's turning into like the Ricky of the books. So it's kind of like all of the books that I've read have now like started to like come into play, because before I was like, oh, like I love listening to the books, but I feel like the character I've kind of made, the character that I booked, because I didn't read the books before I auditioned.
Mhm.
The character that I've made and the character that I'm on set with is a little bit different from the books. But now, season two, we're shifting into the Ricky from the books, and I like it. I think
Right
it's cool.
on.
Yeah.
I don't want to use the word adorkable, Maybe
It's true though.
I will, and I just did. But I mean, there's obviously a bit of a growing up process that's going
Yeah.
on within season 2, and do maybe you lean into that a little bit?
Oh yeah, no, totally. I think that's kind of Ricky's thing. Like he has like the overarching story for his character, I think, is always about like growing up and maturing and going from like a little boy into trying to become a man of his own, and the mistakes you make on the way are, I think, one of the more interesting things about the show. And I think that, yeah, no, I'd like to see the continuation of his like growing up and stuff like that.
Very nice. What have you enjoyed yourself about growing up within the industry, and with everything that's going on, finding a show like this and getting to see the fans of a show like this?
Yeah. I'm super grateful. I mean, getting to work in this industry from, pretty young. I'd gotten used to the, just regular, you work for 1 or 2 days on a project, or you don't, or you work on a project that's kind of big, but you don't have a very big part, so you don't want to like brag about it or anything, because you don't really feel like you have the ability to, or something like that. But being on a good show, a nice show, and having such a loyal fan base around it and stuff, it's hard not to get a big head. And sometimes I do kind of feel a little bit too proud of myself, and I have to kind of catch myself, because I don't want to seem like a jerk. But yeah, it's one of the more insane experiences I think I've ever had in my life, really being a part of something like that.
Right on. What role has you're a writer and director already? You've got shorts, you've got credits. What has that meant for you?
Um, it meant a lot. I was trying to dip my toe into it with my with a group of friends I had ages ago, and it was a really fun process. And I realized, I was like, man, I need a lot of experience before I can get into this, because it was one of the most stressful experiences. Oh my goodness. I didn't expect it to be so hard. I mean, I should have expected it, but I kind of just, like, we just had like a DSLR, like a shotgun mic, and we were just trying to film cool things and stuff like that. And I bought like equipment to try and do cool shots with and stuff like that. And it was this whole experience. But it was cool. I enjoyed like the learning process, and I think that I'd really like to revisit directing at a later date, when I've like shadowed a director, and I, have some money to spend on my projects.
Hmm.
So that would be my perfect goal. Yeah.
So obviously, at this time, I'm watching a lot more television, and a lot of shows that I might have missed. For you, what have been some of the shows that you've been watching?
Oh, I just watched this brilliant show. I love it, and I can't wait for the next season, if there is going to be one. But it's called Sick Notes.
Mhm.
It's Nick Frost and Rupert Grint's show, and oh my god, they're so funny. It's like one of those shows where it's kind of like absurdist dark humor, and those shows are like my like bread and butter. I love that kind of like, oh my god, that just happened, that was so funny, oh wow, that's horrible, I shouldn't be laughing at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that kind of movies and TV shows. There's a couple others, I just can't recall them right now, so that's gonna have to do for now.
What does it mean for you, for a show like Virgin River, that maybe, I don't know, maybe you expected that it would be this kind of show on your career path? Maybe it kind of came out of left field a little bit, but what does it mean to be on a show like this?
um it totally came out of left field. I never expected to be on, this kind of romantic TV show. Because everyone had always told me from a young age, they're like, Oh yeah, no, you're not the guy who's like the Ryan Gosling who's gonna be in those like romantic comedy movies. You're gonna be the guy who's like super dark, and all of your films are gonna be like about you being like addicted to drugs or like a serial killer or something. And I was like, that's so nice. I guess it's honest. But yeah, it was out of left field, but it's fun because I got to stretch and work with all these cool people who have taught me things like Tim Matheson. He directs quite a few of the episodes. He's directed 4 in the past 2 seasons, and uh, yeah, he's taught me a lot and gave me little pointers here and there, and it's been a huge growing experience.
Right on. And
Yeah.
again, romance show too, but maybe also slice of life. It just feels like a very comfortable place to visit.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? I'd like to visit there.
Sure, right.
Yeah.
And so what guides you into the future? What's something else that you haven't had a chance to do yet that you'd like to maybe take on in future roles?
Um, I it's funny because I talk about like everyone talks about how I'd be good at doing like some sort of weird like dark movie. I would love to be in a horror or something just for fun. I don't know. It was this thought I had one day that I was like, I'd really, really love to be in a movie where like I die brutally and it's like a cool death. Like it sounds weird, but like I was thinking, yeah, man, that would be super awesome. I'm like this like douchey jock or something, and then like the serial killer comes and like and like splits me open and I'm like crying or something like that and dying slowly. That'd be great. I'd love to do a role like that.
Maybe it could even take place in the house from Virgin River after you buy it, like Virgin
Yeah.
River After Dark or something like that.
Oh yeah, I'd love that. That'd be perfect. Yeah.
Sure, integrate all of your dream roles and pursuits.
Yeah, it's like the MCU, but all in Virgin River.
There you go. The
Yeah,
the VRU.
the VRU.
Yeah,
That's actually that's kind of cool. It's catchy.
cool. It was really a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure speaking with you too.